Good evening. This is Becky Wade, and this live video is kicking off a Facebook chat party that I'm hosting here on my author page tonight in celebration of my new book, which is called Sweet on You. So I want to welcome those of you who are live with me and also those of you who will be watching this video at a later time. I'm so glad that you're taking some time out of your schedule to talk about books and interact with other readers and with me. So welcome and thank you for being here. I have already posted 2 posts. One is asking you what you would order if this party was being held at Brit's chocolate shop. Brit is the heroine of Sweet on You, and she is a chocolatier, which is a fun word to say, chocolatier. And so if we were holding it there, which I wish we could, what would you order? She serves all kinds of coffee drinks and all kinds of chocolate, but if you don't love those things, then tell us what you would like to order, because hey, we can let our imaginations run wild. I will tell you that I would order a C's chocolate. Those of you who know C's will maybe understand. It's called a Bordeaux, and it's like maple flavored chocolate filling with a dark chocolate coating and dark chocolate sprinkles. Not that I've spent any time thinking about this at all, but that's what I'd order. And yet today, what I actually made and what I will actually be eating after this video is over is a scone. Look, I made pumpkin scones. I had a ton of writing to do today, and so what did I do? I made scones, and that helped fuel the writing session, or helped me mentally and emotionally in some way that was necessary. So this is actually what I will be eating because I can't have actual sugar. It's quite a sad state. Okay, and then the other post that I've already posted is a instruction post. And so please take a moment to read through that when you have a chance and familiarize yourself with how this party is going to run. All of the details and the information are in that post. So if you have time, just look through it and you'll get a really good overview of the chain of events that we're going to follow. I will be videoing here for about 25 minutes, but I will be sticking around all the way until 8:30 Central Time, which is the time zone that I'm in, to interact with you and to answer any questions you have for me, which brings up my next point. If you do have questions for me, please go ahead and type them into the comments of this Facebook Live video, and I will try to answer some of them while I'm live here. So please shoot me your questions, and I'll do my best to answer some of those directly. One thing about how the party is going to run, each prize post, and I'll be posting several posts that have prizes that accompany them. Each prize post will only be open for 30 minutes in the sense that we'll choose a winner after 30. So make sure that you quickly jump on every prize post and comment if you want to be in the running for the prize associated with that post in the first 30 minutes before it goes live. And also, in order to keep up with all of the posts, you're going to need to refresh your browser very often because I'll be posting every 5, 7, 10 minutes, more than that actually, and so just continue to press refresh to keep up with it. All right, I am also going to give away a prize associated with this video here. So to one of you who comments or interacts or says something while I'm live, you will receive a $15 Starbucks card. So that's good motivation to jump in and let us know who you are. I'd especially like to know where you're coming from. I'm always really curious to see where you're located in the world. So please let me know, where in the world are you tonight? And I'll have fun looking through all of that later. I'm always amazed to see how many states and cities and countries are represented here. Okay, I say that a lot. I'm gonna try not to say so much this time. It's gonna be hard. It's like my filler. All right, I think that was all of the opening remarks I needed to make. Oh, I did have one other. I wanted to say, no, I had 2 others. I wanted to say, I think that there are lots of you who may have already read Sweet on You, but the majority of the people that are here at the party tonight have not. And so all of us are readers, and we all understand how much we loathe and abhor spoilers. So if those of you who've read the book could just be really careful not to post any kind of spoiler-ish comments or questions, and just keep your remarks limited to like what any reader could read on the back cover copy. This is definitely going to be a very spoiler-free event. I don't want anybody feeling scared to come because they're worried there's going to be spoilers. So just be really careful if you've read it. Don't mention anything that might be considered a spoiler. And then I was going to show you the 3 books in the Bradford Sisters series. I'm going to be giving these away at the end of the night in my final giveaway post. And so the first book in the series was this one, and this is True to You, which came out 2 years ago, and it features the middle Bradford daughter, Nora, and she's a genealogist who falls in love with an opposite, a Navy SEAL. Next came Falling for You, which released a year ago, and this one is about the oldest sister, Willow, and the man that she falls in love with is her ex-boyfriend, Corbin Stewart, who's a former NFL football player. And this one came out a year ago. And then this is the new one. And I'm wearing pink tonight in honor of this cover because you can see that she's got this beautiful blush pink gown on. And so I'm wearing pink in solidarity with Britt. This is Britt Bradford, and she's the youngest Bradford daughter. And she falls in love with Xander, who has been her very best friend since the 9th grade. And so this is kind of a new challenge for me to write about friends, adult friends, who have a romance. I had written, I don't know if you guys remember A Love Like Ours, about Jake and Lindy. They had been friends as children and then reconnected as adults. But this was the first time I've taken 2 adults who've been friends for numerous years in a row and then gone from there with their story. Okay, so this is the whole series together, and they have turned out so well. Look how pretty they look all together. The cover design team at Bethany House has done, I think, a really, really great job. I'm so thrilled with these covers, and it's really exciting and satisfying to see them all together as a set, because this took me years of work, and I had this idea and this vision for this series a long time ago, and so to see it actually come to fruition and to be able to hold it in my hands is a pretty amazing moment for me, also humbling, and also makes me really grateful to the Lord for equipping this work, because I constantly pray to Him asking for His equipping, because I know that I can't do this. I can't write novels by myself, but He shows up. Amen? I'm sure He shows up for you too, so I know you know what I mean. All right, I'm going to see if you guys have any questions for me. Kaylee asked, what are you working on now? Okay, Kaylee, I always work a full year in advance of what you're seeing on the shelf. So right now I am finishing up the book that will come after Sweet on You, and it's due in just a few weeks on June 1st. And so I'm really, really hard at work right now, rewriting like up to my neck every day. It's a lot. Rewriting is hard. Every step of writing is hard, but rewriting is a big challenge because I'm trying to wrestle this whole manuscript into shape. And so I am rewriting very intensely at this moment. And what I'm working on next is a brand new series. It's going to be set in the North Georgia mountains. So it's going to be set in the Blue Ridge Range in a small, quaint mountain town. And this time I'm going to do something a little different. I'm not going to tie the characters together through family bonds. I'm going to bond them in a different way that I'm really excited about. And that is, I think, all I want to say about that for now. But as I'm able, I will reveal more and more information about this new series, which I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys. Okay, Amy asked, do you know the overarching theme you want to convey before writing the story? I like to. I always hope to nail down the theme pretty early in the writing process, but not every story cooperates with that. And sometimes what'll happen is that I think I'll know the theme, and so I'll dive in and I'll start writing, and halfway through or all the way through the rough draft, or maybe even the second draft, I'll realize, nope, that's not the theme that the Lord had in mind after all. I was wrong. This is the theme. And then I have to go back and rework the story accordingly. So I try to always have a theme in mind, and I try to limit it to just a couple of words. I don't want a real convoluted theme. I want a theme that's really easy to get my hands around, like reconciliation, or in the case of Sweet on You, reliance, forgiveness, trust, healing. Like, these are the kinds of things that I like to write about, just like 1, 2, or 3 word themes. And I'm always searching for that and always trying to pin that down, because I do feel like it makes a story more powerful and also tighter. And so I'm always working on it. Sometimes they come to me early and I stick with that to the end, and other times it's a work in progress. Okay, Rebecca asked, do you have a favorite Bradford sister? You know, I don't. I really love them all, and I love them for different reasons. So I love Nora because of her bookish and helpful personality, which I think that I could relate to. You know, I could relate to the bookish aspect of her personality really well, really easily. I just felt like I knew her so well. And then I loved Willow because she wanted so much to be good. And I loved that about her. And she'd made some mistakes that she couldn't let go of because she was in such pursuit of goodness. And I understood that. And then Britt was great fun because I always have a blast writing about characters that are brave and adventurous and independent. I can easily and quickly really respect a heroine like that, and I can enjoy living in her shoes, because it's a lot of fun to live in the shoes of someone who's really adventurous because I don't necessarily consider myself to be that way. So I adored her, and I adored that she was so creative and that she loved chocolate as much as I did. So while I don't have a favorite, I did enjoy different aspects of each of those. Okay, Alexis asked, how much time did you spend writing this book? Alexis, I typically spend approximately a year on every story. Not quite a year, but almost. I begin writing them in September. I complete writing them in June. And then I rewrite for a month and a half over the summer. So it ends up being almost a year. And I have fallen into that same yearly pattern because all of my books have been May releases, and so I'm very familiar now with this rhythm, and I just get into it and I kind of tweak it a little, but for the most part I just follow this same pattern year after year, book after book, and that's how long it takes me. If I do squeeze in the writing of a novella, which I have occasionally, I do it over the summer. I always take all of June off, but sometimes I can find some time in July to write a novella, or I'll squeeze it in a little bit over Thanksgiving or Christmas or something like that and make it happen. But for the most part, that's how long it takes me. I am not what anyone would call a fast writer. The Lord did not give me that capability, and I've just made my peace with that. Because as it is, this feels to me, with my creativity, like a super fast pace already. And I know there are a lot of writers out there who would consider this a slow pace, but I guess it's my pace, so I've made my peace with it. Okay, Denise asks, will we ever get to see the Bradfords again in a future book or novella? I never say never. You know, I've got quite a few characters out there now from the Porter family and also from my standalone novel, My Stubborn Heart. And I get asked a lot whether or not readers will see these characters again. I think because as a reader myself, I know that it's kind of comforting when you end a series that you enjoyed to know, well, maybe I'll get to catch up with these characters in the future at some point. But I don't have plans at this time to do that. But who knows? Who knows what will happen? It could happen. Thank you for asking that. Which one of your male characters, Janet asks, most takes after His Highness? Okay, so His Highness is the nickname I use for my husband. If you've been following me on social media, then you might know that. And it's quite apropos. And he gets teased about it a little bit from friends of his that know that I use that nickname for him. But we'll just keep it between us. The character that most resembles my husband is Ty Porter from Meant to Be Mine. And so if you're someone who likes Ty Porter, then you can understand why I married my husband. That's who he is most similar to. All right, she asks, do you create your characters based on actual people? No. Now, I will sometimes take a character trait that I see in an actual person that I notice, and I'll jot it down, or it'll just stick in my memory, and I will use that. But I never take one whole person and then just stick them into a novel. I will just take an aspect here and an aspect here, and then this trait seems to work, and then let me think about some quirks this person has, and oh, we'll use that, and then create my characters that way. So certainly I have found inspiration in actual people, both people I know myself or people that are on TV or photographs I see. I can pick up inspiration from all of those places, but I don't put a person in a book wholesale, just whole, or maybe I should say just whole. Elizabeth asks, how do you decide a story idea will work better as a novella rather than a full-length novel? That's a good question. It's more like this for me, Elizabeth. I decide that I want to write a novella, and then I find an idea that will be suitable for that length. So I wanted to write, for example, Love in the Details, and I thought to myself, okay, what kind of a story will suit this relatively short length? Because the novellas are only about 25% as long as the full-length novels. And so I need a story that is not as intricate. And also, oftentimes, it's very helpful if the characters already know one another at the outset. So 2 of the 3 novellas I've written, the characters know one another and have a history together when the story opens. And that's very helpful. And then I give them like one big conflict they have to resolve, just one. And I keep their goal kind of manageable, like a manageable goal that's not going to take, this tremendous story arc. Decide on that and I run with it. So that's how I come up with my novella ideas, more like that, more in that order. Lisa Ann Phillips asks, what do you treat yourself or do to take a little break after finishing a book? Vacation. I really need a vacation by the time I turn in my books, and I'm sure you can all relate to that. I'm sure there are many times in your year where you're thinking, I could really use a vacation. I need this desperately. The time of the year that I most desperately need a vacation is in June, after turning in my book to my publisher. And so I always take the entire month of June off, and I just recuperate and travel with my kids and go to the pool in our neighborhood and read a lot of books and just try to let my creative well sort of fill back up. And so that's what I do to treat myself at the end of finishing a novel. Amanda asks, what is your favorite book that you haven't written? Oh, well, I have an idea. I know what I'm going to write in the 2 novels that just follow the one I'm finishing now. And I think I have a favorite of those 2 that's coming up, but I can't say more than that. So I do have a favorite, and he might be a heart surgeon, but we'll see. Barbara asks, do you have a book you desire to write, but you just haven't been able to piece it together yet? Not a whole book that I haven't yet written. I think most authors might answer your question, Barbara, differently. Most of them would probably say, oh yes, I've got files of book ideas and I can't wait to write them, but I just haven't been able to piece them together yet. I think many, many authors could relate to that. In my case, I am not an author with a tremendous number of ideas. I'm just not. That is not how I operate. I have just a couple of ideas and then sometimes not even real like fleshed out ideas, maybe just like a single inspiration. Like with My Stubborn Heart, for example, I just wanted to write about a hockey playing hero whose wife had died. And that was like the sum total of the inspiration that I had. And I just built that whole story from there. So I don't have a whole book that I would like to write but haven't yet, but I do have snippets of thoughts that I'm keeping in a file, just little tiny things that I would one day like to incorporate. And one day maybe I will. You know, it just takes the right book and the right characters, and then I will. All right, Alicia asks, is contemporary your favorite genre to read? Okay, well, I love reading contemporary. Romance is my favorite for sure. I love reading contemporary romance, but I also equally love writing historical romance, especially set in England. I have always loved that genre. I have been faithful to it for so long, and I still just can't get enough of, you know, the Duke falling in love with the governess and all of that. Like, it's always wonderful to me every time. So that is a favorite genre of mine for sure. All right, Chrissy asks, does your sense of humor come out in the characters in the rough draft, or is it later in the writing process? My sense of humor comes out in both phases of the writing process. I think it does probably emerge more so in the rewriting, because it's at that point when I'm not just trying to get down the bones of the story, when I can actually focus on layering in humor and layering in nuance and layering in detail, that the humor arises more. That rough draft, I'm really just trying to get the meat of it down, and it might not be very funny. But later and later and later in those latter drafts, you know, the humor begins to emerge there. And I just keep trying. I mean, that's always something that's tricky. It's not easy to write humor, and it's not easy actually to write romance either. And so those are things that I'm constantly striving to do better. Those are constantly things I'm working on. All right, we have maybe just 2 more minutes, so I'll take 1 or 2 more questions. Melissa asks, do you feel like the Lord worked on something specific in your heart through writing this series? I love that question. I would say that he worked specifically on my faith. He worked specifically on my faith. When I show up to write, it's very much a faith-building process because I'm trusting him to get it done. When I'm full of doubt and uncertainty and angst and tiredness and all of that stuff, I'm trusting him when I show up at the computer to write to be big and to come through. Like I'm believing that he can do what I cannot. And so I'm sure you found this in your own life, that when you step out in faith to do something that you can't accomplish in your own power, and you find him to be faithful day after day and week after week, it has a big impact on your faith. And so I feel like that's what he was working on with me specifically through the writing of this series. 3 novels and 2 novellas. I started this series in the fall of 2015, and the final book is just now hitting the shelves. So, wow, I'm just so thankful to him. All right, and this will be, I think, my final question. Naomi asks, are you going to write more suspense in your books? Well, you will notice that occasionally I do like to weave in a little bit of suspense. And in my Bradford books, each one contains some kind of a mystery. So I have been moving more towards that, Naomi. Yes, I love writing some sort of mystery into the stories, although I do consider myself to be a straight contemporary romance author. I don't consider myself to be writing romantic suspense or romantic mystery or anything like that, but I do love incorporating mysteries. And occasionally in some of the books, like Undeniably Yours and Her One and Only and Sweet on You, there are also some elements of suspense. So if the plot lends itself to that, then I always enjoy it because it heightens everything when you introduce an element of danger. And so that's fun. It's juicy, kind of emotional territory to work through when that happens. Okay, we completed our Facebook Live portion of the night. Thank you so much for asking questions and posting all of your comments. I really appreciate it, everyone. Don't leave though. We've got a lot more to go. All of the question posts will be available one by one shortly. And just continue to stick around and interact. And thank you. Thank you very, very much. I'd also like to just take a moment to thank the two ladies that are helping me behind the scenes tonight, Chrissy and Joy. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for helping me tonight and really all year long. And readers, I appreciate you so much. Okay, thanks for coming.